is Dr. Ceandra Baker Dilley, and I'm privileged and honored to be here with you today. My program is Industrial Organizational Psychology, in which I've just recently received my PhD in, yay me, here at Keiser University. The main reason why I decided to get this doctoral degree is actually a sad story. I'm a veteran, an honorably discharged Navy veteran, and my husband is now honorably retired and discharged Air Force veteran. And during the time in which I had transitioned from my active duty field now into the retiree field, he was still active duty. And he actually had a very difficult time as we were trying to maneuver the ways of the military. We were trying to get help and things of that nature. I saw that there was a greater effect, just like on organizational standards within the industry of the military, because it's definitely an organization that is huge, right? It protects our borders and our boundaries, but there were a lot of factors within the military that really wasn't like, I guess, kind of set in place to really truly help the member. I know the military always says that they are there, like, people first, organization, but it's really mission first organization. And I understand the contrast of the two, but during this time, because, my husband, I needed to do something about that. And so I didn't know exactly what to do, but I knew that I needed to go and become more educated. I have a background in counseling and things of that nature, but I was like, how do we change an organization from within, right? How do we make it better? How do we come alongside, right, to show maybe some of the nuances or some of the things that's not working with, per se, productivity or employee engagement or whatever the case. In this instant with my husband, it was the communication factor. So something was broken. And then it was also a factor of the employee engagement, right, from the hierarchy moving on down the chain of command. And so as I was, praying unto God, I was like, help me figure this thing out. And as I was online one night, industrial organizational psychology came up, and I didn't know what that was. It's like big, long words. And I was like, what is this? And lo and behold, found out that this degree helps you to go into to change, right, these structures within organizations, right? In any organization, right, there's always going to be something to where there's going to be an issue with employee engagement, productivity, how to kind of, bridge the gap, so to speak, those types of things. And I was like, if there's something out there that can help us do this in any and every organization, then I totally got to be a part of that, because I feel like that's the way in which we can make a greater positive impact on the world and change these organizations to be better. Because I'm 100% sure that, the CEOs, right, of these companies and things of such, they want their companies to be able to thrive, and employees, right, they want to be able to have that work-life balance. They too, want, equal pay for, equal work and all of those types of things. And so how can we bridge the gap? And so that's how I got started on my track with IO psychology. And so now that I've recently earned the degree, I plan to go back, into the structure of the military, right? And to be able to go in to help maybe streamline some processes, identify those nuances and things that, are broken in a sense. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Focus of my dissertation was about servant leadership and leader membership exchange and training programs. So training, and more training, right? There's training everywhere. As I just said, I was a part of the military, and we would always have these general military trainings, and it was trainings from sexual harassment to finances to whatever, right, they could think of, diversity, you name it. And so you always had to get these trainings. And for the most part, some of the trainings were great, but I hated the trainings where you're just sitting there like death by PowerPoint, we called it. You would have a facilitator show up, and they would simply just literally read the slide, right? And so I was like, don't want to quite do training like that. And so servant leadership, didn't know that it was a name per se for it, but I knew within my heart of being who I am as a person, people can lead and people can follow, and those roles, they kind of, they reverse sometimes, just depending on where you're at and what you're doing. And so for me, I'm a giver. I'm an exhorter. I edify. I do these things, and I do it quite naturally because it's an innate gift, one of those soft skills that are inside of me per se. And so as that, right, giving and seeing how to, in a military structure where you might have a authoritative, or maybe you have a democratic or a laissez-faire, whatever the case, whatever leadership style, I was always seeing more of one versus like a balance with another. And I just knew that there needed to be a balance because I saw good leaders, in my civilian life and also my military life. And then I saw good leaders and I saw bad leaders. And I'm like, there needs to be a healthy balance. And so in my research, I started doing a research lab with Dr. Dan there at Keiser. He's one of the professors. And he's really kind of specializes. That's kind of his go-to is the servant leadership. And when he began to talk about it, I was like, it was that aha moment. And I was like, oh, this is me. I'm that servant leader. We need more of this, right? And I truly believe, like, just at the foundation of everything, that servant leadership is truly, the foundation for all leadership purposes. And so if a person has servant leadership as that foundation, of course, they can be that authoritative, they can be that democratic leader, whatever the case, but they're going to have a healthy balance, right? Because they're not always going to be the one that's dishing out the commands and so on and so forth. They're going to kind of sit back and also look at both sides. It's looking at that well-rounded picture. That's what the servant leader he's doing or she's doing, is they're looking at that well-rounded picture. I wanted to know how servant leadership and training and development programs would pair with leader-member exchange. Because remember, I'm coming from a military background, right? All of my life just about is military. I have more years military than I have civilian, right? And so with that, it was, we're always needing to do the training. I was like, will this actually work? Will servant leadership be one of those components that can actually change the game when it comes to a leader versus a member? So an employee, employer, right? And so Dr. Dan had a program, a measure in which I could kind of test some of these different variables. And so we put it into practice. And so I partnered with a few nonprofits that service, affiliated with military members and things of that nature to really see if it was actually going to kind of change. And it actually did. There was a correlation, right, with the quasi-experimental design in which I did. And we saw in real life and in real timing, which was really amazing too, because we were delivering this training program, we saw that even within the short 4 weeks, we did an abbreviated version, in the short 4 weeks, that there was a change in the mindset, right? There was a paradigm shift for the employer and also for the employee. And I thought that was powerful. And we also were able to see people that thought they were servant leaders, because it sounds good. Oh, I'm a servant leader. I love everybody. I want good for everybody. We found that, say there's a tier, right? There's a range, like say a percentage. Say if it's 100%, you're 100% servant leadership, you're great. Or maybe you're at 2%, right? So we were able to see basically how much of a servant leader, or kind of just open up their eyes to see how much of a servant leader they truly was. I took the survey just like on the side, just by myself. I just wanted to kind of see how and who I was as a servant leader, because like I said earlier, right, I didn't have a name for it, but I'm a giver. I do serve. And what I found, even for myself, I wasn't as great of a servant leader as I thought I was. Now, my numbers were high, but I'm like, I wanted them to be higher, right? Because that's just who we are as people, right? We always want the best of the best, no matter what. And so I wanted those numbers to be higher. But what it did was it shifted my paradigm. It opened my lenses and my eyes to show me like, hey, these are areas that you can work on. And one of those areas, was the bigger picture, right? Getting the feedback, right? A lot of us say constructive criticism. I don't like the word criticism, but receiving the constructive feedback. And so how I use my words to be able to pour into someone in a positive way versus just kind of like boom, 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 because that's how I've been taught, military, right? You just got to get it done by every means necessary and make it happen. Well, there's a different way that you can do that, right? And still get hopefully the same result, but kind of go in at a little bit more of a gentler kind of way. And so that was the reason why I chose it. I didn't really know what it was. It was just a lot of words like I'm saying right now, but at the end of the day, I knew it was servant leadership. And so I wanted to learn more about it. And so we went back, into history and to see how this had transcended all over time. And one of the greatest servant leaders of our times in the Holy Bible is Jesus Christ. I'm a believer, right? So in there, he was the greatest servant leader that I believe ever truly lived. And so there are examples in the Holy Bible. Even if you're not a believer or a Christian, you see people in the world, right? We have Gandhi, we have Martin Luther King, we have people that serve. We have people, students here, you at Keiser, that are serving, that you're giving back, right, to your communities and things of such. With the Student Government Association, these are servant leaders. With the Veterans Associations, these are servant leaders because they are giving back to make Keiser University and the people that they serve better. That is such an amazing question for students that are about to start their graduate studies or their dissertation. You're going to have to come in with thick skin, truly. You've probably heard this before. I've went through it, just recently, okay, just a few weeks ago, okay, and been through it in these past few years. You're going to have some thick skin, and you're going to have to find that grit. You're going to have to dig deep within inside of you and tell yourself that you can do it, that you didn't come this far just to not graduate or to finish, right? You're going to have to dig your heels in, right? And say, I can do it. There's going to be times that you are going to want to quit. I was one of those people. Other classmates, they were those people. But we had to find people within our classes, right, and make those connections to where you had a support system and say, okay, you're not going to quit today, and this is why. And then we would come around and we would cheer each other on, those sorts of things, and say that you can do it. Your brain is just going to hurt. I was like, this whole process is breaking my brain. It's totally breaking my brain. My brain is broken. I can't think anymore. I can't even function. But then, you would have family members speak life into you. You would have friends speak life into you. And say, even if you don't have some family members that are not cheering in your corner, because I've experienced that too, where everybody wasn't on my side. And it was hard and it was tough, but it was a realization that I knew that it was something greater within me, because my goal it's greater, and it was greater, right? It's like I have to utilize this education, this degree, to go and make impact into our world. This is not just for me, for Ceandra, just to use, like, as we say, my four and no more. No, this is to be beyond the walls. This is to be above that ceiling, right? There's no limits to any of this stuff. And so find the grit within, right? And when you have the hard days, tell yourself, look in the mirror and be like, I can do this. I've sat in the mirror and I was like, I can't do this. I suck. I'm totally horrible at this. Why did I do this? I didn't even think, you start having those negative conversations, right? And then you have to smack yourself out of it. Don't smack yourself too hard. Okay, no, but snap yourself out of it and say, no, I can do this. If this was brought, to my door right now, right? It was put in my mind and now it went forth. I've got my financial aid. I'm buying my books. I'm taking my few classes, whatever the case may be. So I'm in it right now. I've committed. Now I'm in it, and life has gotten hard. Life has gotten difficult. Life is lifing, right? And I just don't think I can do it anymore. You got to go back to the beginning. Remember the beginning of why you decided to go this path, right? And say that you're going to see it through. Because at the end of the day, when you quit, you only quit on yourself. That's what some would tell you, that you only quit on yourself. But I'm here to tell you that that's not true. When you quit on all of the lives that you were destined to touch, right? The purpose that God put inside of you. And so if you don't fulfill that purpose, right? The other people that were connected, that's connected to you, that you might not even know, that you may not ever see or meet, it affects their pathway as well. I truly believe that in this world, though it seems so big, we are all truly connected. And it takes each and every one of us to make an impact and a difference in someone else's life, whether you know that person directly or indirectly. So steady the course. At the end of the day, steady the course. Take the time to cry. Take the time to scream. Take the time to yell. Take the time to do whatever it is. And then I come back and I try again. So try again and steady the course in all that you do, because truly, I know people think it's cliche. If it came into your mind as a thought, right? And you're wondering, can I do this? Can I make it happen? You can. You really, really can. So move past the fear, because fear is going to do one of two things. Fear is either going to paralyze you to where you don't do anything at all, or it's going to propel you into action to where you're like, you know what, I'm overcoming this today. It's not going to hold me back. So allow yourself to choose, right? If you're going to paralyze me, or is fear going to propel me? And I hope you will allow that to propel you. All right. If fear does come, and it will come, the naysayers are going to come, the haters are going to come, and all of that stuff, just put it to the side, block it out in whichever way that you can. But above all things, steady the course. For the Keiser University community, this is huge because I'm originally from Florida. I now live, in North Carolina. And being here in North Carolina, it's like, you hear those comments like, oh, a Florida man or a Florida woman. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're not that bad. What are you talking about? But being a part of this community, honestly, now as alumni and that kind of stuff, it makes me feel very proud, right? Not just to be a part of this Keiser, but also the other colleges that I've attended. In my way of receiving my education, I've attended 14 different colleges. I sat down and I counted it up one day. Don't possess me to do that, but I did. And it was 14 different colleges. And I didn't know that because I had to get my education where and when, literally, right, where I could. Because being an armed forces member, when I'm out fighting wars, or I'm in remote areas, or I'm on a ship out to sea, whatever the case, I have to take that which is offered. And so being a part of this Keiser community, I see where, people even from this community have taken the opportunity and also have been that servant leader to go out and educate, right, others. Right. And because of the military community that Keiser has now, because we are, a part of that population, and seeing how we have now come together to even start the Veterans Association so that we too can meet and can converse and can support, because our lives are different from, just a regular civilian student. The military member, that student is different. We speak a different language. We have different experiences that a civilian really won't be able to relate to, right? And we're a very small part, percentage of that population. And so the fact that Keiser has blessed us, right, to be able to have this organization, that helps to bridge the gap within our community. And so for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful too for the professors and the staff and everybody that comes together to make it truly good experience. And those professors, right, they were the ones that was pushing. They were the ones that were challenging my thinking and things of that nature, introducing me to new things that I never even knew anything about. And so I'm grateful for the community there. And I hope, I only hope that we continue with Keiser in that seed, not only Keiser, but all universities across America and beyond. So to all the students out there, to all the staffers out there, to all the people that are even desiring to be in college or whatever the case, no matter where you are in your program, please, beyond all things, remember and know that you can do it. You were brought to this place and space for a reason. And so now you have to steady the course, right? One foot in front of the other, and you're going to get there. Small steps at a time. And just remember that you can do it. Know that there's a community here at Keiser that can support you and help you in so many things, right? And reach out to those people. And if you don't know, get with the people that are set in place, the academic advisors, right? Student services is a great place to start to help you in many, many things. And so I wish you all the very, very best in all of your endeavors. I truly mean that. If there's any way that I can assist any of you, please don't hesitate to reach out, okay? And so as I always like to say, I have a business and I also have a podcast. It's called Inspire for Purpose, right? And so as I always like to say, even on my podcast, love and light and inspire for purpose. Thank you all very much.